What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 86 of the Brahma Bullpen, and I have a very special guest out here on the Cow Pasture coming to you on behalf of United Football Media. We got Coach Josh Jones, the best, and the maybe will always be the best secondary coach in San Antonio Brahmas history. Coach Jones, thank you so much for joining us out here in the Cow Pasture.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me.
Man, we're so happy that you're here. You know, we try to give the fans down here in San Antonio a little bit of access to the coaches without having to, jump you when you're walking around town or whatever. But we're going to just ask some questions. We're going to talk a little bit about your coaching career, coaching philosophy, and your time with the Brahmas. But before I go any further, I always know that most people are watching this at the very beginning of this episode. Go to Sacrifice Pod. Sacrifice Pod. About a year ago, Coach Jones did an interview with those guys, some of his boys from back in the day that they've been around with. Wonderful, wonderful episode. If you really want to get to know his backstory, his high school career, going into college, going into recruiting, and then getting into the coaching world, go check that out. It's an awesome interview. And if you're a player and you want to know what Coach Jones is looking for, watch that interview because he's going to give you 2 or 3 main points to give you guys some advice of what y'all need to do when you start reaching out to these coaches. But in this episode, we don't want to rehash already published material. We want to talk about current material and give everybody a chance to know Coach Jones. So without further ado, Coach Jones, just give us a cliff note about your coaching journey. I know you've gone through the college ranks into the pro ranks. You've been with teams such as South Alabama, Arkansas, Pine Bluff. You were with the Citadel before you were with the Brahmas. How did you go from a college coach to a pro coach here with San Antonio?
Yeah, man, it's been it's been a journey. It's interesting. Got into coaching professionally in 2013, and just how fast everything goes. I mean, been 12 years in now. I actually started out coaching at my high school, my alma mater, for 2 years when I played arena football. It was just something to make a little money in the fall. Um, didn't know that I wanted to do it as a career. Had an opportunity to go GA, and it's just kind of gone from there. And I attribute my career to just work, and putting my head down and working, not asking for anything, letting my work really be my resume, and that's kind of what's gotten me as far as I've gotten. So, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be, with the Brahmas. Happy to be with this organization and this league. So it's been good. It's been a fun journey.
Man, that's awesome. I heard that when I listened to podcasts, I heard you talk about arena football team playing arena ball. What arena team did you play for? I couldn't find it.
So 2011, I played for the Green Bay Blizzard in the Indoor Football League, the IFL. Went through that entire season, and then I signed a contract with the Utah Blaze in the AFL, the Arena Football League. At the end of that year, played their final game, and then they re-signed me in 2012. So I played for them before I got hurt.
I'm gonna put you on the spot since you play both. We do have both NFL style football here in San Antonio with the Brahmas, but we also have arena football here with the San Antonio Gunslingers.
Okay.
So as a DB, now that you've played and you're coaching, what's the biggest difference between a DB coaching or playing for arena league type football or the NFL style of football? What's the biggest difference between the two?
The hardest thing to do when playing arena football as a DB is having to cover that high motion. Those guys can go back 20 yards, 30 yards, and get a full head of steam running forward. And by the time the ball is snapped, they're already full speed. So that was definitely interesting. It was interesting to learn. It took a little bit of time, but that would be the biggest difference.
I could imagine, man, if you bail out too early, they're going to just do a little hitch. You're going to get burned. And if you don't get moving fast enough, they're going to run right past you, man. That's
Right.
a crazy style of ball.
Imagine this. Imagine telling the coaches telling you, hey, I want you to press them at the line. So yeah, you gotta sit there and wait
like this.
Yeah, basically, they're full speed. They're running right down the middle of you. So.
Yeah. So one of the thing about football, it's we always try to focus on relationships. So I heard you talk about Coach Simmons. He was the one that kind of gave you that call that one time and said, "Hey, come over here and start coaching." And you talked about, you didn't even know if you wanted to be a coach at the time. Uh,
Right.
what I know that that's probably one of the more important aspects of your professional career too is the connections with the players and other coaches and all that kind of stuff. So focusing on the Brahmas, I guess, who do you think there's a player or a coach within this organization your last couple of years that you've kind of been able to build that personal connection with?
Honestly, I'd say majority of them. It starts with Coach Wade, number one. I mean, you can't have a better connection than Coach Wade Phillips. You can't. And talk about the most genuine, down to earth guy, individual that you would ever meet. Given his track record, given his career and his legacy and what he's built. Um, it starts with him, but then uh, Coach, or not Coach, sorry, but Bridge, our GM, Mark Lillibridge, we have a great relationship. Me and Chris Acuff, our D line coach, are really close. Uh, and just building those relationships with those guys that we can take outside of the field, outside of the season.
Okay,
But I would say I've had connections with pretty much everyone.
I'm gonna put you on the spot with Coach Acuff. So you got your secondary back there, and they're just working. They're just putting in work. You can't cover some of these wideouts in the UFL all day long. So
Right.
so let's just say the D line, which we're not gonna call nobody out, Coach Acuff. Your D line ain't getting no pressure on that quarterback. What is the interaction between Coach Jones and Coach Acuff on the sideline if your DBs and safeties are spending too much time in coverage?
Oh man, you know what? I'll be honest. On game day on the field, I stay away from Acuff as much as possible. I do. I stay away from him. I don't mess with him too much. No, but I talk to him all the time, and he knows we're only as good as our front four is at the end of the day. I think he's a great D line coach. I think he's done a really good job with those guys the last couple of years, and giving us opportunities to be really good. Uh, but yeah, I give him a lot of hell, especially during the week. We're usually in the office during the season about 6:30, 6:45, and we're kind of usually one of those first couple in there. And his office is usually that first one when I pass by. I'm going to go in there and mess with him that early in the morning and get him
Good.
going. I know he's already kind of going. I'm gonna get
Yeah,
him going a
good.
little bit more. Tell him he needs to get the D line going.
So, how many times have you heard the phrase "hunt" or "go on the hunt" or "fast feet, violent hands"? What's he's always yelling stuff like
It's
that. Guy is a ball of energy, ain't he? When he's
it's
coaching,
it's all day, every day, all day,
man.
every day.
I appreciate you letting us in on that. So, some of the players you work with, especially this past year, we'll start with safety Henry Black, got signed by the Atlanta Falcons. So good for him. We love that UFL to NFL connection. We know this league and this team is working on filling that gap between college ball, pro ball, and having this other pro ball option. So, anything about Henry Black that maybe you can let us in on or let the fans know about that maybe set him apart just a little differently to give him that opportunity with the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, Henry, number one, a great individual, as a person. I think, and that goes a long way. I think that goes further than a lot of people really think. Um, Very unselfish. Honestly, if I'm looking at when I reflect on the season and some of the things that I could have done a better job of, which is something that I always do. I'm always reflecting on what I could have done better. Henry Black probably should have played a little bit more of meaningful defensive snaps, and I didn't do a really good job of getting him in there as much as he should have. But a balls to the wall special teams player, shows up to work every day, quiet leader, speaks only when he really needs to, and when he does, people listen. Um, and just overall, he was a really good football player, very physical, strong. And like I said, at the end of the day, I mean, he was a worker. He was a workhorse, and very, very unselfish.
Appreciate that. I know he'll appreciate that too. It's refreshing sometimes to reflect and then also be willing to share that reflection with all of us out here in the fan world and doing that. So we appreciate that. You got a couple other guys that you coach this year, Sean Fresh and Derek Langford, both got workouts. Fresh with the Eagles and Langford with the Packers. Anything about those two guys that maybe set them apart to where they at least got that tryout? We're hoping they get signed during this camp season for the NFL, but we know that they've got some looks.
Right. Yeah. So I'll start with Sean. So I really only had Sean for a couple
Yeah.
weeks. I was actually doing the Bill Walsh internship in Green Bay, and during that time, he had actually gotten signed, and so I had him, I believe, the last 2 weeks of the season. Um, Sean is, for his size, even though he's a smaller DB, and what you always see with those smaller DBs is he is what's the word? He's very edgy. Like he's a guy, he's gonna be in your face. He's not scared. You know, he's got that dog in him. A lot of those smaller DBs have that because they got to, right? When you small like that, you know, and you got to be fast and you got to have some dog in you. He played really good for those 2 games. Made some plays on big receivers, and I think that kind of gave him a little bit of some marketability for some of these teams to sign him. Not to mention, you know, I think he ran really well on his pro day. I think he was a low 4.4, high 4.3 guy, I believe. Um, you know, so that gave him some marketability. He's gonna have to probably be an inside DB, a corner or a nickel, to have a shot to make the team. And I think, you know, with his demeanor and the way he plays, he's also a returner. I think that gives him some marketability as well. You know, I think he's got a shot. Um, Lane, man, I love Langford. You know, we signed him late last year, and he played some meaningful downs for us. You know, on our championship run. You know, came back, brought him back this year. I think he dealt with some nagging injuries that he didn't want to continue to say that he had. You know, he didn't want to make any kind of excuses or whatnot because I think he's a tough young man. But long, lengthy, you know, really good in man coverage when he's trusting himself. Um, you know, I think he's a guy that has had some opportunities before and now getting another opportunity, which is big for him. You know, he's a guy I would love to continue to coach.
Yeah, I remember that quote you said on that podcast there with the sacrifice training. Like if you ain't long, you better be aggressive. So you kind of hit a little bit on all those guys. So I appreciate you sharing that. I want to talk to you about the fellowship, but before I go, this we are in San Antonio, and one of our fan favorites down here because he is a UTSA road runner, Corey Mayfield Jr. Now I know he's seen an increase of playing time from his first year with the Brahmas to this last year. But he also is one of those guys that even on special teams, man, he just every now and then makes this crazy play you weren't expecting to see from him, whether it's a fumble recover, a pick, or score a touchdown on special teams. What do you give us a little Corey Mayfield love for the UTSA Roadrunners out here?
Yeah, yeah, little Corey, that's what they call him. No, Corey has the versatility to play corner and nickel, and so this year, what we wanted to do, you know, with the changes in the roster, we made him full time nickel early in the season to give him an opportunity because he did it for us last year in that 2024 season, and made a lot of good plays for us. But he also played corner. Just thought his niche and what his marketability for the next level would be is at nickel. But Corey is a guy that has the versatility to do a lot of different things. And for him, you know, he has done a really good job of maturing and growing. Because he was I think he was the youngest one in the room last year, and so him having to take a bigger role this year was big for him. You know, he started out first game of the season, he gets an interception. You know, our first turnover of the year. So he's a guy. You know, I love Corey. I love coming in every day and he's smiling and he's having fun. He's joking around. Corey's my type of guy. You know, I love him to death.
Yeah, man, we like seeing that local guy out there working for the Brahmas, and appreciate you sharing that with us. You brought up a second ago that Bill Walsh Diversity Coaching Fellowship. Um, I guess I wanted to ask if I was going to ask you one thing about it. What motivated you to want to be part of that? What motivated you to throw your name in the hat to go jump on that?
So I've been trying to get into that for the last couple of years, and it's tough. It's difficult because there's a lot of people trying to get involved. And it goes back to everything else. It's about who you know, who you have a connection with. And I had a connection, a couple connections actually with the Packers organization, whether it be myself or just people that I've been involved with. So I was able to get that opportunity. But really, what drove me to want to get to that is uh, the new lay of the land in college football, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got into when I realized that I wanted to be a coach. I got into college coaching because of what it was. It was recruiting, it was giving kids an opportunity, it was the amateurism, it was there was this love about it. And so I didn't want to. I never felt like I wanted to coach at a level where it's a job to the players. It pays the bills, and so it got to the point where it's like if I'm going to coach, you're kind of doing the same thing in college and the NFL. So why not coach somewhere where you actually get your vacation when you get a vacation? You know, and that's just the honest answer. Um, but I have, especially after being with the Brahmas, being in the UFL, and being able to coach on a professional platform, it's actually given me that motivation to want to be in the NFL even more. Because I think it's different. It's very much different. Not just how much time you spend, but the focus is purely on football, um, and you're coaching guys that they attack it at a high level. It's just there's something different about it.
What what's one little piece of coaching philosophy that's changed over your career from going to collegiate now with the Brahmas, and then what you may have picked up from being with the Packers at that time as part of that program and this Bill Walsh program? What is one thing that maybe 5 years ago Coach Jones would have told a player to do it like this, but now you're saying, hey, this is how it needs to be done?
I think we're always evolving. Um, you know, I'll take for instance, I coached corners, just specifically corners early on in my career, and I was coaching specific techniques on press man and how we were going to do it. And as I've evolved, I've changed that just due to studying, seeing different things, talking to different coaches. I was more of a soft press type of coach as opposed to now I'm more physical at the line of scrimmage because of the way routes are run, kind of trying to affect receivers in that aspect of things. Um, but in terms of philosophy and with the players and with the people, I've always been, I would say, into getting to know the person and learning the person, and because you can't coach somebody hard if you don't know them and they don't know you, right? And I think the other part of it is players have to trust you, right? They can respect who you are, they can respect everything about you or whatnot, but especially at this level, if they don't trust you, then they're gonna go out there and do their own thing, especially in the pros, because at the end of the day, they've got to feed the families, they got to put food on the table, they got to put a roof over their heads, families' heads, they got to feed a child, whatever it is. Um, you have to build that trust that they know that you know what you're talking about. Uh, because if you don't, they're just going one ear in, one ear out the other. They're going to do their own thing. So it's always about building that trust with them, that they understand that I'm going to put you in the best position possible to make plays. And I'm not going to tell you something just to tell you something.
Man, that's crazy. That's awesome to hear. It's everything's a personal connection. Whether you get called for that job or you get called to be on the field or you get called to coach up a player, man, it's all about personal connection, man. And it's crazy. That's the overreaching theme that we hear all the time when we talk to coaches and players, especially with the UFL, working to the next goal and having those connections going forward. Um, Let me ask you,
Mhm.
zone versus man. Okay, now those basically the two concepts for, and I know there's a lot cover two and quarters and all that kind of stuff, right? But
Right.
you as a player, when you had that receiver across the line from you, did you want to be in zone? did you want to be a man? Did you want to take on that challenge of covering him, or were you just wanting to do your job and stay in there? I guess it's like a mentality question, I guess, is what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
yeah. Honestly, I never really thought about it. Because as a player, I just did what you told me to do. I mean, you make the call, we'll execute. I'm fine. But and when I was playing and the league that I played in and whatnot, we weren't a big man coverage team um, early in my college career. And so it was a lot of zone. And then when I transferred and I went to my second school, it was more quarters. It was, zone that turns into man, match coverage. And so I played a lot of man coverage in that last year. Uh, just ended up having to be one on one with a receiver down the field. So either way, I mean, I was just tell me what to do, we'll execute, we'll get it done. I didn't
So
have a preference.
sounds like a team player right there. Just give it to me, coach. In the UFL, who was one of the wideouts that you guys, when you're doing game planning for the upcoming game, who was the one wideout where you took just a little bit of extra effort, a little bit extra talking in meeting room that you guys were very cognizant of where that player was lining up on the other side of the field?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about that group, just the entire group over in St. Louis. Um, when you talk about Hakeem Butler and then Ja'Cour Pearson, I mean, you could take and go uh, double Hakeem and put two people on him, and then you got to worry about, Ja'Cour being isolated one on one in the slot, which is the hardest position to play in slot corner, especially if you're playing man coverage because they've got the entire route tree. So I would say definitely that when that week came up, those 2 weeks, those are the two guys that you definitely gotta pay attention to. Now, Hakeem, I think he has some laboring injuries. I think he had a hamstring this year, so he was a little more limited than what he normally was. But Ja'Cour for sure. He was a guy, and then the Deion Kane over in Birmingham. He was one that came on this year that we had to kind of really you had to keep an eye on. You had to make sure you had somebody maybe over the top of him. He was a guy that they found themselves going to quite often. So those two, three, I would say probably are the ones that come to mind first.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and thank you for not giving them any bulletin board material there. That way next year they come in with respect, not hate, so they don't tear. Speaking of that, we had a little bit struggles on defense in 2024. Brahmas were number one defense in the league by all the metrics and points allowed and all that. Not didn't work out so well in 2025. So obviously don't want you to say anything negative. What I'd like to know, if you could pick one thing that you would want to focus on improving. We don't know really what the coach staff's going to look like next year. We're really hoping everybody gets to come back. We're looking for an announcement from the league on that. But if you're coming back next year, what's that one thing you can kind of tell the fans that as a secondary coach that you're going to focus on to help get back to that 2024 level?
Yeah, takeaways. That was the overarching theme this year when we started camp. When I met with the DBs, the first thing I said is we didn't create enough takeaways last year, despite the fact that we were the number one team in the league last year. And then you come in this year, and I think we let some other things fall by the wayside a little bit. But at the end of the day, what I've come to learn is it doesn't matter really how many yards you give up, as long as you keep them out of the end zone and you take the ball away, give the offense more opportunities to drive the field. We've got to do a better job of creating takeaways. And people are probably like, "What's a takeaway?" You hear turnover. We call them takeaways, and I've learned that over the course of my career because you know offenses aren't just turning the ball over necessarily. You got to take the ball away. So that's one of those things that we try to stress, and coming back next year is going to be a big emphasis for us.
So much of that is instinct by the DB, knowing time and when to jump if the ball's in the air. Wide receivers are now doing the late hands where they don't move their hands until the ball gets right on them, and so there's so much of that is instincts. But what you're going to give advice to either a high school young college player looking to go pro, in what would you tell them to work on the most? What's the aspect of playing in the secondary in a pro league like the UFL that you would say, hey, work on your hips, work on your hands? Like what piece of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously got to work on the intangibles. You got to work on your hands. You got to work on your feet. You got to work on your hips. You got to be flexible. Um, you know, but I would say every young DB needs to hone their skills in man coverage. And the reason I say that is because you can teach majority of DBs to play zone coverage. Zone is zone. I can teach you the scheme. I can teach you how to where you're supposed to be, how to read it, where your eyes need to be. But playing man to man is a different ball game. And you know, NFL teams, UFL teams, like everybody's looking for man coverage guys because you got to be able to take away top receivers. We got to be able to play man coverage at some point. If you can't, you're gonna struggle
So find the fastest friend you got that plays wide receiver and hit the field and just stay on his hip, right? I mean,
all day,
repetition,
all day.
baby,
Don't
repetition.
leave the side.
Yeah. Um, so tell me, what kind of? I know you already mentioned NFL's definitely this league. It's not just players, it's coaches, it's GMs, it's staff, it's trainers. I mean, even for media guys, writers, sports columnists. It's a league of doing something to kind of hone your skill. So, what kind of long term goal do you have as a coach personally that you want to leverage from your time with the Brahmas? That maybe either stay with the Brahmas or move on to that next level in the NFL.
Um, Continuing to grow as a coach, in terms of the preparation aspect, finding new and innovative ways to prepare with efficiency uh, and then also, but continuing to learn the game. Football is football, no matter where you go, right? It's all football. Um, Defensively, you pretty much all got the same coverages. Maybe there's a little wrinkle, a little twist here and there. So learning those different things, learning different schemes because people do things differently, and just studying. Like we don't get to do much in the off season, right? So I've got 8 months of sitting here, and I get 5, 6 months of sitting here and watching football. So every Saturday, Thursday, hell, tonight I'll be watching NFL games. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, football is going to be on in this house, and I'm going to be sitting here probably taking some notes, going back and looking at things. When I get a chance to, and kind of just studying to continue to grow as a coach because you can continue to learn. I don't care how old you are or how long you've been doing it. There's new stuff. There's different ways. So just continue to learn and grow.
Yeah, yeah. I could tell just by this interview that this is not a career or a job for you. This is a passion. I can tell working with the young players is a passion for you. I know you like paying it backwards as well as paying it forward. I recommend everybody once again to go check out the Sacrifice Training podcast so you can get to know Coach Jones a little bit better. I don't want to take up all of his time. I appreciate you coming on to the podcast. Thank you so much. Down here in the Cow Pasture, everybody from San Antonio, we want to see you guys back here in the Dome next year. We want to see you, uh, those players and our coaches down here taking that next step professionally and giving us something to root for. We know that San Antonio is going to be playing football in the Dome next year. That's all come out. We had a couple of reports down in San Antonio. Contracts have been signed, agreements have been made with the Dome. We hope to see Coach Jones and all of our coaching staffs back on the sideline next year. Hopefully, we'll get an announcement soon. But real quick, before we go, have you already started drafting or looking at the players that you're kind of thinking about that you want to try to get on the roster next year? Or even we got in September the collegiate draft, which I guess the rookie draft for the UFLs is happening. Have you already started kind of scouting like who you want back next year if and when they announce y'all's return?
Yeah, yeah. I've got a bank of guys in my mind, especially from last year's roster. But obviously, with us, our GM Bridge handles pretty much majority of those roster moves. So, and he does a really good job. 2 years in a row, I think he's put together two really good football teams. Um, with a lot of talent. So, I trust him. I trust his vision. I trust his eyes, his evaluation. So, whatever direction he goes, if he's got a guy he wants me to look at or that he's kind of on the fence about, he'll send them to me or he'll ask me what I think about it. We'll kind of just go from there. But yeah, I've got some guys for sure that but would like to see back, not just in my room, just other guys on the team that I feel like, we need to get back. So,
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to it. We can't wait to see you down here in San Antonio next year. Anything else you want to get out there? Any projects you're working on? You got anything around the house? Or you doing like a little carport today? Anything like what are you doing in the off
but,
season, man, to stay
but I,
busy?
I mess with my girlfriend all the time. She's the head volleyball coach at the University of Memphis. So this is her season now, and I mess with her all the time. During this time, I'm the house husband.
Yeah.
So, I cook, I clean. I'm out here mowing the lawn, pulling weeds. I do whatever I can. Yesterday, I spent hours cleaning the kitchen, mopping the floors, wiping down the tables. I gotta find something to do.
But you're a team player no matter what you're doing. Don't tell my wife that, man. I'll tell you right now, I'm not wiping down no tables. Hey, which one of you are the more fiery coach? A player does something wrong, and you need to correct him in the heat of a
Oh, her
moment.
for
Who's
sure.
yelling?
Her for sure. 100%. No,
Yeah.
100%. I'm the chill, laid back coach, and the guys know if I start yelling, it's probably pretty bad. Her, on the other hand, though, don't let me lie to you. She's not just like over the top, but oh yeah, she'll get after him though.
Yeah, y'all catch that? He was about to go. She's real mean, and then caught himself because she might watch this later. And
Yeah, she's definitely gonna watch this probably.
that's awesome, man. Hey, Coach Jones, we appreciate it. Love your story. Love the inspiration. I'm sure
Appreciate it.
all your players love you working with them. We're gonna let you get out of here and let you get back to your off-season honeydews and watch some football tonight. Who's your NFL team? Who are you rooting for this year?
So by trade, we actually just had a conversation about this the other day. So by trade, I'm a Rams fan. I'm from LA, grew up in LA. I was actually a Raiders fan for a long time, but they kind of lost me with the move to Vegas. I still don't understand it, but I secretly still root for them because
Yeah.
that was a long time team of mine. I became a fan when I was young because my cousin played for them, and
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, he played for them for about 6 years, and so that's when I became really a Raiders fan, and then started rooting for the home team. About probably eight, 9 years ago, maybe.
Nice. A couple good franchises there. I'm not a Raiders fan, but I'm a fan of going to Raiders games. You might not like it because it's in Vegas, but I definitely recommend going and spending the weekend in Vegas to catch a football game and kick. So
I can only imagine. I've been to Vegas plenty of times growing up, and I can only imagine what it's like now with football on Sundays.
yeah,
Now, did
it's
you
it's
see? You see that? I don't know if this is true. I saw this last night, but the Cowboys trading Michael Parsons to the Rams.
it's a that is not a done deal. That's a very well done social media
Okay,
fake news type deal. Someone made it up and they're trying to speak it into existence. I'll tell you what I know about it. Paper napkin deal between Jerry and Micah, and then the agent got involved and it made Jerry mad. But obviously, Micah's agent needs to be involved, and there's a back and
right.
forth. It's just a couple of a billionaire and an amazing athlete getting into what you would call out here in the Cow Pasture a pissing contest. You know what I mean? So we're
For
gonna
sure.
see who wins. If Jerry wants Micah in Dallas, he's gonna pay that man. I can tell you that right now.
You better
So
do it quick.
yeah, he needs to get it done. So at least get some camp time in, right, and come in.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I hope they sign him. That's what we're rooting for out here, and I'll be up there in Dallas, a couple of them games too, and looking
Yep.
forward to all that stuff. So, yeah, my NFL. I don't know if you can see, man, it's kind of down the bottom. I'm an Aggie, Cowboys, and Brahmas guy. So,
I got you.
needless to say, 2025 season in late 24 couldn't end soon enough for me, and I'm looking forward to the future, man.
I hear you. I hear you. Now, going back, because you asked my NFL teams, I
Yeah.
will say I got to spend 2 weeks up there. There's some love for the Packers now too. I mean, I'm definitely gonna be watching them this year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Packers are a good team, man. They're a unique, such a unique franchise, such a storied program, man. I'm not a fan, but I definitely watch home games, especially when it's cold, because it's just that
Yeah,
frozen tundra up there, man.
that
It's
Green
a
Bay,
whole nother.
that cold is it's different.
Yeah.
Different.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it. I know the fans appreciate it. before we get out of here, where can people catch anything you got? You drop a social media or anything you got you want to share with the group out there?
Yeah, my Instagram, I believe, is underscore Coach J Jones one. Also on Twitter, probably by the same name. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Uh, Actually, Twitter is Coach Josh Jones one. So
Yeah, that's how I got a hold of him. In case anybody wondering, I Twitter stalked Coach Jones for 2 years now. And no, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Chasing him down with my notepad, saying, "Come on the podcast, Coach Jones." No, I appreciate it. No, I appreciate your time, man. I know it's valuable, and I really thank you for doing this. And we're
yeah,
gonna get out of here on a very positive note. We're gonna see Coach Jones and the Brahmas next year in the Alamo Dome, winning football games, getting takeaways. And
man.
let's end it like we always do with a nice horns forward. Let's go, Brahmas, baby.